Hey guys, we're going to be going over a bit of what happened over the free agency market yesterday around March 20th. Of course, the bigger news involved in the Brandon Cooks trade from the Houston Texans to the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, that was taking over a lot of sports media for a while, especially for Dallas Cowboys fans and anybody that's a fan of Brandon Cooks. Because Brandon Cooks, as soon as he leaves over to that team, they become a prime contender or they already win a championship. And that's not even a bad thing. I mean, that's not a good thing for him. Sucks because his market value just goes down. When he's already a serviceable wide receiver, a reasonable number two, always consistent, high productive, and just had so much great efficiency. Had some great back and forths over with the Texans over his past 3 years. Kind of shut down when Mark Ingram was over to go back to the New Orleans Saints for another playoff run, while Brandon Cooks still apparently just stayed over to Houston. Makes sense, right? Deshaun Watson just got left over there, and I understand he was already a high quarterback in demand for a prime contender. And that just got shuttled off after the controversies. He is split over to the off season for 2022. And now Brandon Cooks, massive acquisition. Only 2024 six round pick for next year, and of course this year's fifth round pick, 161st pick for 12 million over Brandon Cook's salary. I don't know if that's going to be pushed over or restructured. But my goodness, now that sounds like a football team to actually take seriously. Finally, something to relieve over the stress over the high conservatism of, the Cowboys offense. I thought they could have made a run over for Adam Thielen, Adam Thielen just leaving out. I think he went over to Buffalo over the offseason after getting released from the Minnesota Vikings. And the Cowboys just had such an underwhelming receiving core. Other than Cavante Turpin, that's an absolute unit, showing his worth over from the spring football leagues to Canadian football leagues. Now he's became a possible in-depth Swiss Army knife, and still pretty young. This guy came a long way to finally making it to the pro level. Of course, Tony Pollard. CeeDee Lamb's going to still be the primordial number one option. Still young, or we're going to be turning 24. Still a prime number one receiver. Dalton Schultz leaving over to the offense is possibly the biggest drop offensively. Michael Gallup is still a primordial target. T.Y. Hilton, I guess he's released by now. So just a lot of offensive, possibly a lot of firepower for the Cowboys loss, but a massive upgrade over for the Dallas Cowboys. Joshua Dobbs, second string, I think it was like a third string quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, just signed over a 1-year deal with the Cleveland Browns, dependent if Deshaun Watson gets hurt. We got Mike Hughes heading over to the Atlanta Falcons. How come everybody's going over to these rebuilding teams? Damian Harris from the New England Patriots just signed a 1-year contract with the Buffalo Bills. And Devin Singletary signed over a 1-year contract with the freaking Houston Texans. What's going on? Devin Singletary had an outstanding year with his last time with the Bills, actually having a better season, actually increasing his salary over to $2 million. And this is actually after, starting at least majority of his games, his highest start, at least the second most snaps. He was the primordial option. He had the second most carries over the season. Sure, he didn't have a better year, better carrying the offense than he had in 2021, and he had less forced fumbles. I just feel like his production was a bit more higher, and he was just more efficient off the red zone. Zach Pascal, after not the most effective year when he was over in Philadelphia, they get to wide receiver depth. Zach Pascal's heading over to the heading over to Arizona. He's a decent speedster. He's getting up there in age, so pretty much a slot first down attempt for Arizona. I don't know if that's really gonna convince. I really don't know if that's really gonna convince DeAndre Hopkins of staying over in Arizona. After losing Darren Waller to the New York Giants over the trade, OJ Howard got signed over Vegas to the Vegas Raiders, as well as getting Jordan Willis and Jaquan Johnson for 1 year. Interesting. Ross Dweller's 49ers signing for the tight end position, extend the depth right there, and I bet they're just using him to compensate for an extra blocker. And Trent Sherfield just got signed a 1 year deal. CJ Moore got signed 2 years, 4.5 million. While Chauncey Gardner Johnson, former D-back for the Philadelphia Eagles, just got signed over to the Lions as well. So just a lot of in-depth defensive signings for the Lions still. And the Lions I feel like they've been having a decent enough offseason when they're trying to focus on depth. Adam Thielen just signed a 3 year, $25 million contract after getting waived over from the Minnesota Vikings. I thought he'd be a massive trade value. I thought the same thing over Mike Gesicki. I thought his value would go up after an outstanding season with the Dolphins if it wasn't for Tua getting himself hurt. Back over to Detroit, they cleaned up themselves. Jake McCoy, they got Bradley, Emmanuel Mosley from the 49ers, David Montgomery for 3 years, so they can, and that's after losing Jamal Williams over to the Saints. Cameron Sutton, they were very jam packed on the defensive side of the ball. They're really trying to restrict first downs with guys that are more manned out on defense. And I think the only massive offensive signings that they got was Nate Sudfeld over the second string position and David Montgomery. I don't know if they're gonna make it. The Lions are gonna make it a priority over the draft to pick over a quarterback in the middle rounds that can catch teams off guard, like Jarrett Stidham. Even though I keep hearing that that's possibly a number one pick option for the Chicago Bears, knowing that they got a number not that no, it's the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if that's going to be a massive option for them, but it could be a massive trade option if they're still trying to focus. And Cam Newton's contract, he should be a unrestricted free agent when it notes that he's guaranteed at least $4.5 million still over his signing bonus that he had over in 2021. And it's still active, even though I don't think he even played since week 17 of the 2021 season. I don't think he even had a snap since then. And Newton's have been quite washed. I've been seeing him in more podcasts than I've seen him since 2021. He only played 8 games since coming back after the trade deadline. So I don't know if he asked for his release after giving a 1 year deal after his time with the New England Patriots didn't work around August of that same year. But at least I can free over some cap. I just say buy out his contract and see what else can be extended. Because obviously, I don't think Newton is even willing to still play. Thinks it even has him as inactive currently in the Panthers. And it sucks too, because I like seeing Cam Newton play. Sure, I had him overrated, but you can't say that he wasn't a highlight reel in his prime when he was with the Carolina Panthers. So it sucks to hear. I feel like there's been a bunch of teams that made some massive improvements. I don't know if the Patriots had a loss or a win this offseason. I'm not going to lie to you. Because they got Juju Smith-Schuster. They still got Hunter Henry, and now they extended over that tight end depth. That's always an upgrade. I feel like tight end depth is an underappreciated thing to have. You can extend over to your nickel, have that extra blocker. Gesicki is an athletic, sizey tight end that can spread over to the floor, add some protection, and be a good red zone threat. And New England just fits so well for something like Gesicki, especially for such a primordial pocket passer like Mac Jones. So I feel like that's an A+ signing for somebody like the Patriots. Jacksonville, I don't think Jacksonville has gotten much people over to the eye after losing their offensive lineman. But we can check over for what they did. Because they haven't made any big signings other than Andrew Windegarde over on the backfield to help with their secondary. They picked up Quandre Olson. They've been just focused on getting some depth for their edge rushers, Trevon Campbell, and then they picked up Trey Herndon. It feels like expendable depth in the secondary, and anything they can fit over to the defense because their offense was pretty much the biggest threat over this season. But I thought there'd be more splash hits. You guys need to make sure that you're shown as a massive threat for the AFC South. Knowing the Colts are obviously in the rebuild. The Texans got some reasonable but not really threatening assets over offensively over to the offseason. And they're possibly going to be making some trades to try to get up there so they can get a quarterback for the future, because it's obviously not going to be Jalen Mills. And, of course, Colts. Huh. And that's after getting rid of Paris Campbell. A massive splash. The Giants roster is looking better. Way better. Than earlier around the end of the season. But I still don't know why Von Bell and Adam Thielen, I don't know if it's worth over the hype or just to rebuild over their stock into the free agency. Because I bet they're not even going to do that well. The Colts only signed Gardner Minshew, guys. Tony Brown, that was an absolute trash D-back for the Cowboys. Ashton Tolan, Umbakuman, Matt Gay, that's a reasonable, good kicker. 4 years, $22 million. You cannot tell me over to the offseason that's been the most expensive contract around the week that the Colts sign over Kevin Tolliver. You cannot be telling me special teams has been the most expensive thing the Colts did over the freaking offseason. The defensive end is getting less money than the freaking kicker. We even have some financial information involving the restructuring over Michael Thomas's deal after his contract expired. He's supposed to have around $9 million in dead cap around 2025. Shouldn't he be around 31 by then? Michael Thomas, I think he's missed 2 straight seasons so far, and it'll be about like 10 million fully guaranteed, over 6.2 million over the remainder of the 2023, and around 3.7. So a bit gradually up because he's getting 2 years, 11 million. That's still a massive extension over his contract, even though he's the minimum, even though people would expect him to get a massive max contract if it wasn't for his off-season escapades. Jesse Bates even had a restructured deal for 4 years, 64 million, getting at least rounding around 19 million a year, except for the beginning over his contract when he gets 6.5, and Adam Thielen that's signed over with the Carolina Panthers. And somehow the Panthers and Falcons are getting all this to be sub 500 in a whack division. Baker Mayfield has been the hottest signing for the quarterback position to play for the Buccaneers since Tom Brady retired. If that isn't a yikes after it's been confirmed, even though we haven't gotten extensive detail how the Packers are going to deal with getting Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets. Someone please explain that to me, because I'm still trying to understand how that's even going to work. Well, I guess that's the remainder of news that I have, unless we get further information how this whole Aaron Rodgers situation is going to work after getting Alan Lazard over a week ago, and any other list of demands. Like, Flat Earth Theory must be real and only believed in MetLife. They must actually play in New York for once. MetLife better not smell like piss. And I expect at least one NFC title win. I don't even care about winning a Super Bowl. Yeah, the expectations for me are that low if Aaron Rodgers comes to New York. Or this all been a trick. And Rodgers will go to Carolina. Tell me how you guys feel down below about most of the off season so far. How you feel your teams are doing. How you feel about your rosters. That's it for me. Thanks for watching the DST show.